2022 is now called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Executive Pastor Steve Huffman of the Vineyard Church in Mishawaka and the founder of Project Warm, a homeless ministry in downtown South Bend.
Lord, it says in your word that by your power, kings reign, rulers issue decrees that are just, and by you, Lord, princes govern all who rule on the earth. And you love those who love you and those who seek you and find you. And so, Father, I pray tonight that you help us recognize where your hand is at work. I pray that you help all those deciding any agenda item tonight see what you're doing. And I pray for the meeting tonight and every agenda item that the most amount of wisdom that we need to lead this city well is given by you. And Father, I pray for unity tonight, for anyone speaking, for anyone considering any agenda item. I pray for unity for this meeting and for this city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Next are petitions, communications, and miscellaneous matters. Mr. Nolan.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Belinda Gillespie and Patty Kindler to the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other nominations at this time? Hearing none, nominations are now closed. Do I hear a second to that motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Belinda Gillespie and Patty Kindler are reappointed to the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the December 7th, 2021 meeting and the January 4th, 2022 public meeting?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes from the December 7th, 2021, and the meeting from January 4th, 2022 are approved. Next on the agenda, report from the County Auditor.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Report from County Commissioners. No report. Report from any council special committee. Hearing none, next on the agenda are first readings. Clerk, will you please read Bill number 1-22?
Bill number 1-22, St. Joseph County Public Nuisance Ordinance, Petitioner Area Plan Commission.
Bill number 1-22 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, Bill number 2-22?
Bill number 2-22, an ordinance providing for the removal and disposal of abandoned vehicles and enforcement of Indiana Code 9-22-1 by the St. Joseph County Department of Infrastructure, Planning, and Growth within the unincorporated areas of St. Joseph County and creating a fund for the purpose of implementing the provisions of this ordinance. Petitioner Area Plan Commission.
Bill number 2-22 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. Please read the next bill, sir.
Bill number 3-22, St. Joseph County Weed and Rank Vegetation Control Ordinance. Petitioner Area Plan Commission.
Bill number 3-22 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Commission. Please read the next bill.
Bill number 4-22, an ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council amending Title 15, Chapter 154, Land Usage of St. Joseph County Code to add contractor yard as a permitted use in the C Commercial District and revise outdoor storage development standards in C Commercial District. Petitioner, St. Joseph County Area Plan Commission.
Bill number 4-22 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. That concludes first readings for this evening. Next on the agenda are resolutions. Clerk, will you please read Bill number 160-21?
Bill number 160-21, Fifth Amendment to the St. Joseph County Police Retirement Plan. Petitioner, Sheriff.
Petitioner?
Troy's on there. Troy's on.
Good evening, council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is a follow-up to the 3-year wage agreement that the council and commissioners and the sheriff and the FOP agreed upon back in November and was passed in December. This bill would amend the county police pension plan. The council, as the fiscal body of the county, is required to approve through a resolution any change to the county police pension plan, which results in some kind of funding change. This adds the 2.5% employee pay for any new hires after January 1 of 2022 to the plan. And we would ask for your support of the resolution and the amendment to the plan. It has been passed by the County Police Pension Board previously.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on bill number 160-21. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on 160-21. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to pass bill number 160-21 was made by Councilman Catanzarite. It was seconded by Councilman Krasinski. Are there any further comments from any council member in regards to bill 160-21? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Krasinski.
Yes.
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
Mr. File.
Aye.
Ms. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan.
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite.
Yes.
Is Mr. Kanareki online, or? Mr.
Yep.
Kanareki
Yes.
and Mr. Root
Yes.
and Mr. Morton.
Yes.
The bill passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 160-21 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill on the agenda, bill number 5-22?
Bill number 5-22, a resolution of the St. Joseph County Special Victims Unit interlocal agreement. Petitioners, sheriff, and prosecutor.
Petitioner?
Thank you, council. I didn't do my name and address last time. My name is Troy Warner with the Sheriff's Department. I have office 401 West Sample Street. Is Mr. Cotter there if he would like to start and kick this off?
I am Troy. Ken Cotter, prosecutor, 10th floor County City Building. This is a resolution between the city of South Bend, the city of Mishawaka, and the county police department and the county prosecutor's office, certainly through the councils, in which we would investigate crimes of child abuse, sex offenses, in order to properly handle those, ensure that our victims get the justice that they need, and that we hold those perpetrators accountable. This is frankly a smaller version of what we have had in the past of the Special Victims Unit. Part of the difference is that we would that unit would no longer be investigating crimes of domestic violence. It is smaller, and we would have a more formal coordination with the Casey Center, the YWCA, and the Family Justice Center to ensure that our understanding as law enforcement officers, our understanding of the victims is taken into account in how we handle those cases. It would also include 2 officers from the South Bend Police Department, 1 officer from the County Police Department, 1 officer from the Mishawaka Police Department, and then 3 investigators that the city of South Bend would pay for, and that the prosecutor's office, because of our ability to hire investigators, would then conduct those investigations along with the commander. I believe that the Sheriff's Department is in favor of this. The Prosecutor's Office is asking that the council then approve that resolution that has already been approved by the City of South Bend and the City of Mishawaka. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
I just had one question.
Ms.
Mr.
Hess?
Cutter. You said that it no longer covered victims of domestic violence. Did it used to do that, and why isn't it now?
It was a manpower issue from the City of South Bend. If you recall, we actually had, we were going to be completely disbanding that unit. There was a lot of conversations between law enforcement along with the Family Justice Center, the YWCA, and those two advocacy centers are directly related towards the investigations of domestic violence. This was frankly the best that we could come up with manpower concerns. Personally, I'm hopeful that we'll be coming back to you in the near future, and maybe we can get the manpower back up, and frankly, we can get the band back together again completely. But I'll take a little bit versus none at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on Bill 5-22. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on Bill 5.
Wait. I put my
I'm
hand
sorry,
up.
sorry, Ms. Clays, go ahead.
I don't know if I'm speaking for or against the bill. I do know that the Family Justice Center started because I was involved in the opening in 2008 as a one-stop shop for all of those services. And that was critical. The county got $1 million for that. I hate to see this breaking up. So, Mr. Cotter, I really hope that this all-inclusive agency can be returned to its former glory as soon as possible. So I just needed to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else present or online that would like to speak in favor of Bill 5-22? Is there anyone present or online that would wish to speak in opposition of Bill 522? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on the bill. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to pass Bill number 5-22 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Nolan. Any further comments from council on this bill?
Mr. Morton?
Mr. Catanzarite?
Much like what Ms. Clays had to say, I would agree. Being back on the council at that time when this unit was formed, we spent an inordinate amount of time debating the Family Justice Center. And we committed a lot of resources to it, fiscally and otherwise, and I think it's been a success story, much like it was in other communities. And I do agree with her sentiment that we hopefully, and like Prosecutor Cotter said, let's get the band back together eventually and put it to its full funding and full staffing like we did before. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from any council member on 522? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes?
Mr. Canarecki,
yes,
Mr. Root? Yes. And Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Bill passes 9-0.
Thank you.
Did I miss Bobby? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
I'm used to it.
Bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record,
kind of late getting on the bus.
thank you. Let the record show that bill number 522 is passed by a vote of 9-0. Next on the agenda are salary amendments. Clerk, will you please read bill number 14821?
Bill number 14821, an ordinance amending ordinance 76-20, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. combined with Bill number 145-21A, Petitioner Auditor.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hess, committee report, please.
Mr. President, Bill number 14821 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
John Murphy, Chief Deputy Auditor with the offices on the second floor. This proposed salary ordinance allows us to hire 2 part-time temporary clerks in the property tax division of our office. They're catching up on corrections, refunds, and a lot of net assessment value changes that come in at the end of the year. There won't be any trouble. We won't ask for any additional funding for this. We have an unfilled position currently. The grant accountant position is unfilled, so we'll be able to use that money. Plus, say, we have a person that's out on unpaid leave at the moment as well, so be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any questions from council? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on Bill number 14821. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either present or online? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of 14821? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Motion for approval. Second.
Motion to pass Bill number 14821 was made by Councilman Krasinski. It was seconded by Councilman Nolan. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root? Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
And Mr. Morton.
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Let the record show that Bill number 14821 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill on the agenda, Bill number 14621?
Bill number 146-21, an ordinance amending Ordinance 76-20, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, Health Department.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please.
President Morton, Bill 14621 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Petitioner?
Yes, this is Amy Rupie, Administrator with the Department of Health, with offices on the 8th and 9th floor of the County City Building. And we are wanting to transfer some funds, unused funds. We are going from 2 directors of nursing down to 1, and we are using those extra funds to increase the salary for our nurses on staff.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on Bill number 14621. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either present or online? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed on Bill 14621. May I have a motion on the bill?
Move for approval.
Motion to pass Bill number 14621 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion on 14621? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan? Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root? Yes. Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
Aye.
And President Morton.
Yes,
The bill passes 9-0.
thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 146-21 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, Bill number 14721?
Bill number 147-21, an ordinance amending Ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, Health Department.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Krasinski, Committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, Bill 14721 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Yes, we have unused funds within the Health COVID Vaccinations Fund for community health worker that we have since been funded through the CDC. So we would like to use those funds to increase the pay of our part-time nurses, as well as have a nurse go from part-time to full-time.
Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Oh, Amy Rupie, Administrator with the Department of Health, offices on the 8th and 9th floor.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the petitioner from council? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 14721. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of 14721, either present or online? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of 14721? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 147-21 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Any further comments from any council member in regards to 147-21?
Yep, I've got a question. Does this put this in place for all of 2022, this amount, these amounts?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions from any council member on 147-21? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Taloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root? Yes. Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
And President Morton.
Yes.
Bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 147-21 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 150-21?
Bill number 150-21, an ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Health Department?
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, Bill 15021 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Amy Rupie, Administrator with the Department of Health, offices on the 8th and 9th floor. And this is a new grant that we have been funded to continue our fetal infant mortality review team. This is getting the salary set up for the maternal infant health coordinator as well as the femur coordinator.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on Bill 150-21. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either present or online? Ms. Heckman?
Yes, Cynthia Heckman Davis, Walkerton, Indiana. I would speak in favor of this bill. Our infant mortality rate remains high and we could use more help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of Bill 150-21? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of Bill number 150-21? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on the bill. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 150-21 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Any further council discussion on 150-21? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root? Yes. Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
President Morton?
Yes.
And Mr. Taloyan, did I miss
Yes.
you? Yep. The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 150-21 was passed by a unanimous vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill on the agenda, sir, Bill number 15421.
Bill number 154-21, an ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Health Department?
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Yes, Amy Rupie, Administrator with the Department of Health, offices on the 8th and 9th floor of the County City Building. And this is the fund that we have received for the COVID vaccinations that we have administered. And we would like to set up new employees in our department and utilize those funds.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on bill number 15421. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either present or online? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on 15421. Do I hear a motion?
Move for passage.
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 15421 was made by Councilman Kanaricki. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, Mr. Murphy, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Kanaricki?
Yes.
Mr. Root? Yes. Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
And President Morton.
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 154-21 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 15321?
Bill number 153-21, an ordinance amending ordinance 76-20, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Circuit Court.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, Bill 15321 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Thank you. President Morton, members of the council, Lisa Plensner, St. Joseph Circuit Court Administrator with offices in Courthouse 1, 101 South Main Street. This is a relatively simple ordinance. We are asking to convert an administrative assistant position to a court reporter position.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Ms. Plensner? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on Bill 15321. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either present or online? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on Bill 15321. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 153-21 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Root? Yes. Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
And Mr. Kanaricki?
Yes.
And President Morton.
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 15321 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill on the agenda, Bill number 14921?
Bill number 14921, an ordinance amending ordinance 76-20, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, prosecutor.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, Bill 14921 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Cotter?
Thank you. Council members, this is a grant from the legislature that would give St. Joseph County for 2 years $569,381. That would allow us to expand our high-tech crime unit, allowing us to investigate some of the most complicated crimes, or take that back, some of the most complicated investigations Our abilities to be able to look at the technology that the world is providing everyone and be able to help us determine whether or not crimes had occurred by analyzing that and then converting that back to the detectives to make it part of the case itself. We have a very robust and very good high-tech crime unit. This allows us to expand, at least according to the grant, asking us to expand so that that would include 8 other counties, as well as expanding the uses that we have for us here in St. Joseph County. Some of that has to do with not just the technology, but also I'll call it gizmos, that they utilize to be able, the students and the investigators utilize to be able to determine whether or not folks have committed crime. It costs the county no additional funds. This is all a state grant. After 2 years, if that grant goes away, then those things that we would be utilizing it for, the investigators as well as the gizmos, would also go away. I'd ask for approval of this request.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, I'm sorry.
Just one question. Is gizmo, is that a official prosecutorial term that I'm not familiar with?
My kids would be impressed that I actually use that as opposed to the things that I say at home. I'm 60, so it's sometimes hard for me to recognize that the world is starting to pass some of us by. At the same token, it's kind of nice to be able to see that we can interrelate with the kids by having us join together and trying to understand this technology. But I don't ask me to spell it.
I wouldn't think of it.
Any other questions from council? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on Bill 14921. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either present or online? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on Bill number 14921. Do I hear a motion on the bill?
For approval.
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 14921 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File, Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan.
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root. Yes. And President Morton.
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 14921 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill on the agenda, Bill number 15121?
Bill number 15121, an ordinance amending ordinance 76-20, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, prosecutor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, Bill 15121 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Cotter?
Ken Cotter, prosecutor, 10th floor, County City Building. Council members, this is a request to hire a person to frankly handle the body-worn camera stuff, I won't say gizmos this time, from the police departments as well as the MVRs. That's from the police vehicles themselves. We are getting inundated with it. Every now police officer is being equipped with a body-worn camera. By law, any case in which I file a criminal charge, I have to get a copy of that, convert it, and get it to defense counsel. We don't have enough resources to be able to do it the way we have. I'm asking the council to approve my use of pretrial diversion funds to hire that person. So that would not cost the county any additional funds from the general fund or from anything else that you have the ability to be able to control. This is pretrial diversion funds, discretionary funds that a prosecutor has. I've talked to my folks, and frankly, this is important enough to be able to spend the $78,000 a year that it would cost to not only hire the person, but all the fringe benefit, so that we can ensure that defense counsel gets those videos that they're properly transmitted, and that we're able to use them in court. I therefore ask for approval of this request.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council for Mr. Cotter? Hearing none, I will open the public hearing on Bill 15121. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on Bill 15121. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second? Motion to pass Bill number 15121 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
And President Morton.
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Let the record show that Bill number 15121 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, Bill number 15521?
Bill number 15521, an ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Portage Manor.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please.
President Morton, Bill 15521 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
This is Patty Gotzi. I'm president of the board of directors of Portage Manor. As you may remember, we came to you last month for an increase for the director and the position of a new director. This is just appropriating this money for the year 2022, as it was not included in our budget.
Thank you. Any questions from council for Ms. Gotzi?
Yeah, why wasn't it included in your budget?
We honestly didn't realize until we started. First of all, there was always an assistant director until a few years ago, and the previous director removed the assistant without knowledge of the board. We are implementing that back, especially with the new building of Portage Manor and the additional responsibility on the administrator. The administrative assistant has always been needed, or administrative director, I apologize, has always been needed. So we're just asking that to be put back in, just like we asked for in December.
Any other questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on Bill number 15521. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on 15521. Do I hear a motion?
Just, I'd like to clarify something first. Patty, on the front page of the bill, the current is 43,513, and then to read 51,000, but then on the Form D, this isn't adding up, is it? Court reporters 2.
It should be 90,000 for the administrator and 75,000 for the assistant administrator. I'm not sure what you have in front of you. I'm not the one that originally prepared it.
You know what, I found out my problem. I'm working ahead. I'm on the next bill. What I was looking at. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What was the salary of your last administrator, the one that left us?
I believe it ended at 75. She decreased it a couple times, again, without approval of the board. You guys finally said no, she couldn't do that. And to reiterate what we had said at previous meetings, people are still way over that 90,000 that we're asking to refund.
So you're saying we went from 75 to 90,000, is that what you're saying?
I think it's,
Correct.
That's a decent.
And that's still above, that's still less than what people are already making.
Yeah, it's a very decent raise, I would say.
Dick, I think it goes from 80,000 to 95,000.
80,000.
I'm sorry, that is a new, you guys did the raises. And I never have seen that new budget.
Right.
So the number is 95,000, am I correct?
Right, the number's 95,000.
90. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, the ordinance reads 95,000 for the maximum, for the
Okay,
director pays.
From 80 to 95.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
They could pay less if they, wanted to.
Any other questions from council? Do I hear a motion on bill number 15521?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 15521. It's made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Any further council discussion on this bill? Ms. Gotzi, just to clarify what Mr. Murphy just reiterated, that 95,000 is the max. You could choose to pay less? Is that what I heard you say, sir, or no?
Yes.
Okay. And this is also stipulated on the increased duties that will come with the anticipation of a new building. Is that also correct, ma'am? Ms. Gotzi? Or does that have to do with increased duties regardless of?
I'm sorry. I had you muted. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. But it's all the work that's going behind, working on doing all this building and everything going forward. And looking at all around us, we are still well underneath what everybody's getting paid.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council on 15521? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Chaloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
And President Morton?
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 15521 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 15621?
Bill number 156-21, an ordinance amending ordinance 76-20, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, Superior Court.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, Bill 15621 comes out of council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Allie Rubel, the Superior Court Administrator with offices at 101 South Main Street in Courthouse 1. In our initial budget request, we had reduced the total time allotment for 2 of our court reporters. Court needs have changed slightly given all of the turnover and the case allocation plan. And we would like to restore those to full-time positions. We are also asking for a new bailiff position. We have a new judge in the Civil Division of the Superior Court, and that new bailiff position will allow that judge to have a full staff. So I therefore ask that you approve our request.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council for the petitioner?
Yeah, one. This was the question I was asking about Patty that obviously she had no answer for. So on the Form D and what's on the front here for the court reporters aren't the same number. The number that we're looking for is 9,000 and something, right?
Yes, 9,527.
Okay.
Initially, it was approximately 14,000, but that has been reduced. Our total ask is 43,102.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on 15621. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either present or online? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of 15621? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on the bill. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 15621 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further comments from any council member on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan?
Abstain.
Abstain? Okay. Mr. Catanzarite?
With great reluctance, I will vote yes on this.
Okay. Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Is he taking applications now, or is he gonna, is the new judge?
You said yes, Bobby. I asked him that earlier.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Nolan?
Yes, as
Ms.
long as it's not Bobby K.
Mr. File? President Morton?
Yes.
The bill passes with 8 affirmative votes and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 15621 was passed by a vote of 8 favorable and with 1 abstention.
One conditional.
Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 15221?
Bill number 15221, an ordinance amending ordinance 76-20, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, County Parks.
Mr. Nolan, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. President, bill number 152-21 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much, sir. Petitioner?
Steve Slauson, Executive Director for the St. Joseph County Parks Department with offices at St. Patrick County Park in South Bend. Basically, this is an additional appropriation to help cover the new minimum wage that the council set earlier in the year, or late last year, I should say, and allows us to pay all our seasonal and part-time maintenance, rangers, gatekeepers, seasonal kids, the new minimum wage. It'll come from the existing parks levy, really won't cost the county any more additional money, just appropriating money that we already have in our existing levy. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to help.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council?
What, is there, there's a difference in between full-time and part-time, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know what the part-time minimum was.
Right, but the minimum wage said that we had to pay even our part-time and seasonal people, they wanted us to pay that new minimum wage of, for our case, on a 40-hour work week, it's $15.38 an hour.
Which is minimum wage for the full-time people?
No, the minimum, well, yeah, it's the same. Essentially, it's the same.
Any other questions from council for the petitioner? Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on bill number 15221. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on 15221. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 15221 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Nolan. Any further council discussion? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Taloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
And President Morton?
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 152-21 was passed by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have public hearing and public comment on fiscal matters. All financial issues were heard and discussed at our December 21st, 2021 committee meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. Clerk, will you please read Bill number 14521?
Bill number 145-21, an ordinance appropriating and transferring monies for the purpose herein specified for several departments herein listed of St. Joseph County government.
May I have a motion on Bill number 14521?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 14521 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Krasinski. Any further comments from any council member on 14521? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes?
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root? Yes. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File? Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan?
Yes, except for Q, which I abstain.
Except for Q, would you abstain? Okay, and then President Morton.
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0 except for Q with our one abstention.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 14521 was passed by a vote of 9-0, except for item Q, which we had one abstention. Next, we have public hearing and public comment on the American Rescue Plan Fund. These American Rescue Plan Fund financial issues were heard and discussed at our December 21st, 2021 committee meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of any financial issue under the American Rescue Plan Fund on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of any financial issue under the American Rescue Plan Fund on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Clerk, will you please read Bill number 15721?
Bill number 15721, an ordinance appropriating monies from the American Rescue Plan Fund for the purpose herein specified for the several departments herein listed of St. Joseph County government.
May I have a motion on Bill number 15721?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second? Motion to pass Bill number 15721 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilman Krasinski. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root? Yes. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File? Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
President Morton?
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 157-21 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next, under miscellaneous, we have Bill number 141-21. Clerk, will you please read that bill?
Bill number 141-21, creating a new fund for the receipt of funding from the Indiana Prosecuting Attorney's Council as authorized by the Indiana General Assembly in 2021. Petitioner Prosecutor.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please.
President Morton, Bill 14121 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cotter?
Ken Cotter, prosecutor, 10th floor, County City Building. You need a place to put the money that the legislature is giving us for high tech. That's what this forms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council for Mr. Cotter? Hearing none, I'll open a public hearing on Bill number 14121. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill, either here presently or online? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on 14121. Do I hear a motion?
For approval.
Do I hear a second? Motion to pass Bill number 14121 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Root? Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File? Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Canaricki?
Yes.
President Morton?
Yes.
The bill passes 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 14121 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. Next on the agenda is new business. Mr. Murphy.
I can take this. John Murphy, Chief Deputy Auditor. Offices on the second floor. We've, I believe, emailed to each of you, or you received it through Jen, a list of outstanding purchase orders at December 31st, 2021. A couple of years ago, Mr. Dalton reminded us that we needed to present this information to you at a public hearing. The reason that's important is because the outstanding purchase orders carry forward the budget with it. So we want to make sure we only have accurate purchase orders at December 31st. The total amount is at 12/31/21 is $8,807,815. That sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. When I was at the city of South Bend, we averaged probably about $20 to $30 million of outstanding purchase orders. At the end of 2020, it was $10,111,000, so it's a little slightly less. It's kind of an indication of projects that are ongoing at the end of the year. So wanted to submit that report. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from council for Mr. Murphy?
I have the same question I've asked all the other auditors. Why don't we have to acknowledge the average purchase orders, only the outstanding purchase orders?
Because we only do the best at St. Joseph County.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is privilege of the floor, limited to 3 minutes
I didn't
on.
get an answer.
Mr. Nolan said he didn't get an answer. Next item is privilege of the floor, limited to 3 minutes on items not on tonight's agenda. Hearing none, may I have a motion? Uh-oh, is that a hand or am I? No? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.